In this video, I'm going to show you guys how we added an extra $400,000 in sales for this Tint, PPF, and wrap shop and took them from $700K in 2023 to $1.1 million in 2024. And they're up 20% in 2025 from last year already. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Ismail and we've helped grow many tint shops across the US by installing a killer lead gen and sales system. So without further ado, here's the exact step-by-step process that we used. Now this system relies on Google-based marketing, and if you don't know what that is, I'll link a video that I filmed on the top right that's going to explain why this gets you the highest quality leads possible. So the first thing we did for him was set up Google Ads. Now he was getting his ads run by another agency and he didn't really feel like the results were there. So he asked me to give it an audit, and I found a lot of things that he could improve on. So if someone is running your ads right now, make sure to get it audited and get a second opinion, especially if you don't know what's going on in the account. So the first thing we did was launch window tint ads for him. Now the old agency was running these ads to his website, but the first change we made was run these to separate landing pages amongst other changes. And these ads started performing like crazy. So as you can see the screenshot of when we ran them, he's getting cost per click of like $1.5. He got about 104 phone calls. You can see 118 forms. Cost per conversion about $15 per Google Ads window tint leads. And just to further understand, these were people who went onto Google on their phone or on their laptop. They typed window tint shop near me. These are all the different keywords that he was showing up for. They clicked on his ad and they chose to give him a call or submit a form. These are not people who are just scrolling on Facebook or Instagram, see your ad and say, hey, maybe I should reach out and get a quote. These are people actively looking for window tint. So the window tint ads worked really well, and we decided we wanted to start running PPF ads as well. And those ads also worked really well. As you can see, this is a screenshot of like one of the months we were running them. We were getting a cost per lead of like $32, which is really good for PPF. And just some example of the leads, like these are brand new vehicles. When you run PPF ads for Google, most of the time you're going to get brand new vehicles. So you can see 2025 Model Y, Cybertruck, a Corvette 25, M4 Competition, AMG GT. These are all really nice vehicles. Another thing we did, especially for PPF, we got him to film a video for his PPF service. And in that video, we got him to explain the service and also show the shop, show what he's working on, because that is the thing that's going to allow him to stand out from the competition. If someone sees a video of you talking to the camera, explaining your service and kind of introducing yourself and your shop, it's going to stand out from the other 5 people who are just have a website with some generic stock photos. Now we also had him set up on our CRM as well. So all of these leads he was getting from the ads were going there, and that allowed him to kind of track and manage everything. And this is just a sample of that CRM and how he was tracking and managing everything. And now that he had started making money from ads, he wanted to rank his website so that we could get organic leads, which would do 2 things. Obviously, one, it would get you more leads, right? The second thing, it would reduce his ad spend, so he wouldn't have to spend as much money on ads when he started getting those organic leads. So what we did was we rebuilt his website and did SEO on it to rank him at the top of Google. And this allowed him to rank number 1 to number 3 for all of his services in his city. And this is just a screenshot. This is showing you the rankings, and these are the keywords. So once we were ranking on his main cities, what we did is we wanted to rank on all the neighboring cities around him. So we told him, look, we'll rank you in all of the different cities around you so that you're showing up at the top for all of your services in all of those nearby cities. And this basically gets you as many leads as possible without spending any money on ads. So in total, from his website, we were up to about 150 lead form submissions a month, which is about 5 a day from the website. And this is a sample of those leads. This is back in August. But obviously, we were running ads as well. So in total, he was getting about 10 to 15 super high intent leads every single day. And this is including the website, the ads, and the phone calls. And another thing we did that really contributed to the revenue was the Cybertruck season. So in summer 2024, you guys know, hopefully you made the most of it. There was a Cybertruck hype and everyone was searching and wanting to wrap or protect with color PPF their Cybertrucks. So what we did is we set up Cybertruck ad campaigns and we did SEO for Cybertruck searches. And people were typically searching stuff like Cybertruck wraps and those sort of keywords. And that alone probably made him about 200K if I had to guess. And these are just examples of those form submissions we were getting for Cybertrucks, just to show you guys. Now he also wanted to grow the commercial side of his business. So we ran commercial wrap ads as well. And again, these were Google ads, so super high intent. And just to show you the type of leads, these were all commercial leads with their business trucks looking to get the logos, looking to get the full wraps, all of that good stuff. Now, many of you don't know you can even get leads like this on Google. So that's a big thing. Now that was phase 1, installing this lead generating system and getting him the most amount of leads possible on Google without obviously spending like $10,000 a month on ads. In fact, at the maximum, he was spending like $3,000 a month on ads. He never went more than that. But after setting up this lead generation system, the second step, which was equally as important, was to focus on the sales process. Now, to do that, the very very first thing we did is set up sales tracking. Now, before I mentioned he was using the CRM, but I wanted to set up a Google Sheet because that actually tracks more of your metrics and it tracks it in a better way. So we set up a Google Sheet with all of these metrics. I took a screenshot just to show you. And I personally did sales for him for a while. So I was answering calls, I was calling leads, and I was doing that remote. I was sitting in New York doing that. And I even went in person and I kind of closed some jobs in person. It was pretty cool. Like I met some customers, shake some hands, and I took them around the shop and closed some deals. I think one of them was a Cybertruck. So it's pretty cool to do that. But anyways, we worked a lot on the sales process, and now they've hired a full-time salesperson who we're currently training as well. Now you're probably asking, what can I do in terms of the sales process? And here are some tips. Now, before I go into this, I can film a separate video on this. If there's enough people wanting it, just comment down below, say like, tell me more about the sales process that you use, and I can film a separate video on this. But just as an overview, the very first thing you want to do to improve your sales process, to improve your closing rates, the first thing you have to do is track everything. Because if you're not tracking, then you don't know what's working and what's not working. So the first thing you need to do is track everything. And as I said, you track it in a Google Sheet. That works best. It's a little tedious, but obviously you guys want to grow your shop, right? You don't want to be like the dabblers, right? You actually want to grow your shop. So this is the stuff that you have to do. Now, important metrics to track. First thing is speed to lead, how fast you contact that lead. So if it's a phone call and you answer the call, then it's like you don't need to say anything. But if you miss the call, it's how fast you call them back. If they submit a form, it's how fast you give them a call. The second thing is the pickup rate. So how many people pick up the phone after you give them a call the first time? So there's the first time pickup rate. Then the conversation rate is also really important. So basically, even if someone does not pick up, conversation rate accounts for the fact that you've had a conversation. So for example, they don't pick up the first time, then you will maybe you text them, maybe they give you a call back. Eventually you have a conversation with that lead and you kind of pitch them on the service. That means that you've had a conversation. And obviously the last thing, super important, is the close rate, how many leads you closed. Now, when you set up a sheet like this, so when you have the vehicle description, when you have the source, so source is like if it either came from the website, if it came from the ads, was it a call, was it a form submission, and you have the vehicle description. When you're tracking all of this, then you can see the close rate by source. So you can see the close rate compared from the close rate by the website leads and the close rate from the ads leads, close rate from phone calls. You can compare it by source, and you can I think it's pretty cool. It's not super important, but you can compare it by vehicle. So if you see like all the Teslas are closing, then you need to run some like Tesla ads, like Tesla specific ads, for example. That's not as important. Close rate by source is more important. And then overall close rate is super important. And the other thing is the close rate by service. So the close rate for window tint is going to be very different than the close rate from PPF and car wraps and ceramic coatings as well. Close rate for window tint is going to be much higher. So after you're tracking everything, only then can you make the decisions to actually improve it. Now, here's an example. If you're talking to only 50% of your leads, so let's say you get 100 leads, you speak to 50 and you close about 20%, that's 10 jobs. Doing the math, you can trust me, I did the math on this beforehand. Now, doubling your close rate from 20% to 40% is extremely difficult, but doubling your pickup rate is extremely easy. So let's say the same 100 leads, instead of speaking to 50, you speak to 90 and use the same 20% close rate. That's 18 jobs instead of 10 jobs. And you didn't have to become better at sales to do that. You just needed a better sales process. Now, we have some stuff that we do with our clients to increase the pickup rate. And so your pickup rate and more importantly, your conversation rate should be 90% minimum. You should not be talking less than 90% of your leads. It should be like 100%. You should not be talking to less than 95% of your leads, because at that point, you're just wasting money because you're spending money to get that lead. And if you're not even talking to them, you just waste it. And you may call them once. If they don't answer, you may just say, okay, like forget this lead. That's not how it goes. There's a few things you can do to get the lead on the call, even before calling them. And that's something we do for our clients. So just to recap, what I do is I set up this sheet. Whenever a lead comes in, we personally have a program to have like a lot of this stuff automated. But what you need to track is speed to lead. So basically, like let's say a form submission comes in, I call them within like 3 minutes. Now you should ideally call within 60 seconds. And for some reason, if you're scared of like calling the lead too fast, you can say, oh gosh, some people actually get mad at me if I call too late or if I reach out too late. You can just be playful. Call them within 60 seconds. That's the main point. Now, within 60 seconds, okay, if that's not possible, make sure you do within 3 minutes, because that's literally when they're thinking about the service. Like if I submit a form for window tint, I'm thinking about it like for the next few minutes. Okay, I really need to tint my windows. I'm doing like the form submission. I need to tint my windows. Then after a while, I start thinking about other stuff and it's not really priority, right? So that really helps with close rate. Then pickup rate. So what we do is we just type yes if they picked up, no if they didn't. And then if we spoke on text, yes, no. If we had a conversation, yes, no. And then we have some follow-up stuff as well and sales. Now, after you have all this yes, no stuff, after about 2 to 3 weeks, you can use these numbers and Excel has an option to like kind of calculate the data. So basically, if your pickup is like yes, 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 no, yes, yes, no, no, then you can kind of use that to calculate what your pickup rate is. Then you can do the same with your conversation rate and same with your close rate. Now, I really love this stuff. If you want me to film a longer video on it, I personally do sales myself. I sell window tint over the phone. If you want me to do another video on it, just again, comment down below. Now, I want to end the video off with some action items for you guys, just so you can take something away, because if you just watch this and if you don't do anything, then you haven't learned. The only way you'll have learned is if you watch this and you change your behavior. So the first thing, get a basic CRM or have a Google Sheet with all of these metrics where you're tracking down every single lead. Now, it's super important to do it with every single lead, because I know you guys are tinting, you're installing film, it can get busy. So, some people, they have their partners do it. Like some people have their wives like fill out the sheet while they're kind of just doing the tinting, and the wives kind of take care of this. That's one thing you can do. Another thing is at the end of the day, you can just spend 5 to 10 minutes and write down everything, every person, and all the stuff that happened. Now, it's a little hard because if you have a lot of leads, if you're getting like 15, 20 leads a day, that can get tedious. So you should do it at that time, because some of our shops are getting a lot of leads. So we have them do it at that time, but you can also do it at the end of the day. But it's super important. Don't let it go, because, it's happened to me before. Like there's one day, it's a couple leads, you just don't want to submit it. And like you have like all of a sudden 10, 15, 20 leads that you have no data on, and you kind of have to remember, and it's a pain. Trust me, guys. So spend the next 2 weeks tracking every single metric, the metrics that I told you. There's other metrics you can track, but these are the important ones. So don't focus on anything else. Just track these metrics. And then after 2 weeks, have the data written down and calculate the pickup rate, conversation rate, the close rate, and then close rate by source. And then if your conversation rate is less than 80%, now ideally should be not less than 90%, but if it's less than 80%, you need to focus on that first. So you need to make sure you're speaking to all of your leads. If your close rate is less than 10%, then you need to fix that first as well. And that includes like what to actually say on the call. So like sales script plus objection handling, like that, those two things are super important that get your close rate high. Again, if you want me to make a video on that, I can. But to recap, just do this stuff. And I want to end this by saying the only thing standing between you, yes, you watching this video right now, and all the money, all the growth, like scaling your shop, everything you've ever wanted, is setting up these systems and making sure you stick and follow with these systems. Make it like a habit, do it religiously. Remember, you're not in the window tint industry, you're in the marketing and sales industry. Just remember that it doesn't matter how good you are at tinting. At a certain level, your job is to market and sell your service. Anyways, that's it from me, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you want anything else, like I said, just mention in the comments. Please like the video, share it with other window tint owners. Just don't share it with anyone in your city. You don't want them knowing this stuff before you go ahead and implement it. All right, take care, guys. I'll see you in the next video.